Okay guys, this is a demonstration you guys can have on YouTube, so you can kind of go over, you can pause and check out some of the approaches to rendering now a space versus just an object and a focused material in terms of like we did in the simulation. This file, I put it up in your week folder so you can use as a reference if you want to print it out and have by 11, or you want to trace it. It's up to you. I want to focus on how do we begin the approach to rendering space, and how do we begin dealing with space and looking at movement of light per se. And if you see this drawing, these will be the recessed can lights. There will be lights hitting these walls right here, 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 and this has some light around it here glowing there, as well as back here. And I just want to give you an understanding of how this works, how you have to kind of layer your colors as you go through the rendering process. I'm going to start with a cool gray one just to kind of show you the approach of what I would do in terms of understanding the way light works. And I'm going to leave that area a little bit lighter, right? These areas where the light's hitting than every other area, but just the one. And let me start on this area here in the foreground just to get an idea. Since I know it's going to be lighter, I'm going to start from the bottom and stroke up, right? Like this, and just stroke up this way. And this is just the cool gray one, just to create tone, right? Just to do that. And here as well. And I'll probably put some gray right here as well on these areas. I'm gonna put some here as well, like that. And I'll do the same thing over here. And from the bottom up. And I'll create this effect that's happening. I don't mind this to be darker in this area here, because that's going to be at the wall where there's be probably most shadow, in here as well. This is just a cool gray one, guys, that I'm putting here, just so you know. If you're going to be, let's say you're using a wall that's white. This is a cool gray one in the chart pack. If you do like a 10% with your Prismacolors or with your Copics, it's going to be a little bit lighter than this. But the idea is that even if you're using white, you're going to have something like this happen. There's always going to be color on the wall, always. Why? Because light is always happening in everything. Look at your objects in your room, and you'll see how the light moves to the space. Even like this object right here, right? There's a hot spot right there, and it gets darker toward the edges here. Every object has that movement of light happening. So I'm doing that just to give you guys kind of an idea of what will happen. And just doing just the base coat right there, just the base coat. Right, that's how I would leave it. If this wall was a different color, and let's give this, let's make this a light. Let's say it's a light, one of the walls. Let's say this wall is white, but this wall in the back here is like this turquoise color right here, that light. So if I want to make it lighter, remember how I told you guys you can use your blenders? Right? This is what I'm going to use my blender for now, because I want to start light to dark. I don't want to go dark all the way. And this is what I'm going to do with the blender. I'm going to touch the tip of this, grab some of this, and there'll be some color on it. Actually, it's not grabbing it. Yeah, it's not grabbing it. I need to get my plastic bag to show you how this works. And I'm trying to bleed colors together without having to I want to get my trusty black bag here. Any plastic bag, it can be a Ziploc bag, it can be a trash bag. This has some color on it. There you go. I want to put the back color here. I'm just going to put it right here like this. You can't even see it, but it's there. And then pull it up. Then pull it up. And I'll leave that. That's the light color. This is the actual darkest color of it. And I'll leave it just like that. Right. And if you have marker paper, you can use a blender to blend this a little bit more. The actual color. I don't want it to bleed too much. It looks like it's bleeding right there. But you create that motion of light to dark, right? That's what we want to create, light to dark. That's the idea that we want to have. So let's say this wall is white, right? This is white, and I'm going to go back with this, and I didn't put any color on the baseboard. The baseboard's white as well. See how quickly I just did that? Hopefully your marker technique with your doing all those exercises with the color matrix, you get more dexterity in what you're doing. But that's what I would do, right? It's gonna be darker here, and then I want to get this cool gray 2, which is dying, but it's a little bit darker, and create an edge there so we see it there. Darker toward the bottom there. These will be dark, this is white here. Alright, so now what about, and I want to do a little bit of, let me get a little bit of Prismacolor for the scene. And I want to show you the difference between the Prismacolor gray and the gray that I'm using for the with my chart pack. Here's a 50%. Here's a 30%. Here's 30%. Here's a 70. Well, that's 90, no. 50. 90. Well, that's 90. So I'm going to use this gray. This is a warm gray, which is a little bit different. And I'm going to put it over these sofas and this chair here because I want to make these warm colors. I'm going to make this red, right? We'll make this more like an orange. And how about we make those gray? So I'll put some cool gray there. So I know it's going to be darker here. This is a, sorry, this is the 50. I want it to be the warm 30, yeah. So light's coming from this way. I want to say light's coming this way from the window. It'll be lighter here and darker in this area here. Dark, a little bit darker here. Of course, back here and here and here as well. And there'll be a shadow here. That's all I'm gonna do. Right, and I'm gonna create even darker in the back here. Because that's the nature of what's going to happen with the light. Right, with the light. I'm going to leave it like that so we can understand that part of it. And this is going to be warm as well, so I'm going to use a warm grays to create kind of the shadows as well. This will be Since light's hitting here, this will be hot spot lighter, and it'll be darker there. Now I want to get to 50% to create even darker contrast on this edge right here. Right? From where the sofa I'm going to cover that up just like that. So that's, I'm going to put a little bit here just to give some more tone there. Right. And I'm also, so that's the warm, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to say that this autumn has some color as well. See how different when I get the grays? And that was my one. I'm gonna actually get darker. What's that? So I want to say it is gray. All right, that's great. I'm putting just a gray undertone on it. So I said this was going to be like a red, and this will be more like an orange, just to show the colors. And I'm gonna build it up. I'm gonna build the colors up. So here's this color, the pink. Okay, I'm gonna put these two together. Maybe those, and then this is more for the red. So this one and that one. And this is really dark. But I'm gonna start with this. This is the powder pink that I use there. Yeah. So the lightest color, that's it. And we have this red now, which is a lot deeper. I'm gonna put those over here, right? And I'm gonna make that go quickly. And since I had that gray there, this is gonna make it darker on this side, just by doing this. And I'm gonna see if it bleeds. Yeah, it bleeds a little bit there. Good. There you go. And I'm gonna leave those hot spots there. It's okay. I'm gonna leave it just like that. The arms of the chair, right? Those arms, I'm gonna say that's gonna be metallic. Since it's metallic, I'm gonna go all out. And say it's dark here. Let's start there. Right. Later I'm going to touch this up with some white gel pen, but I'll leave it like that because that's the hot spots. Now, I'm letting this dry. As that dries, I'm going to put, this is going to have different color polka dots. I'm gonna use the color pencils to make those polka dots pop out. Let's go on to this couch now. I'm starting with this light color, which will be seen everywhere, like quickly. The idea is to be quick, and I could go down here if I want, and then streak this out. And maybe put some of these down here to go with the texture of the pattern, right? Then I'll spin a couple of these here like this. It's gonna create that movement that's there. And of course I'll put, this is like the undertone color here. Notice because I have the gray already, it's gonna get life to this area. And then down here, I'm just gonna go pull down. And here I'm gonna pull across here. And leave it just like that because it's kind of ending in that area. Right, we're just seeing that piece of it. You see how this is just kind of developing now? Where you see the light moving. Right, that's what we want to see, the light moving on the object. We don't want to see one saturated color happen. So this is the first marker I used. And then I want to go with a blush here, which is a little bit darker. Right, because I use flesh, and this is blush. Just on this area here. And of course it'll be more in this area and right here. And maybe I'll see that here. I'm creating these streaks just to follow kind of the texture and the pattern, right? That's all I'm going to put on it. I'm leaving the hot spot. And then this is the actual color. This is the orange. Right? This is the cadmium orange. You see that color right there. This is the color that you mostly see. But I'm not going to put it everywhere. I'm just going to put it in these darker areas. Right? Just like that. And it's okay to have these hot spots happen here. See, if I do this, that's the color of the sofa. That's what it is. There's movement happening on that area. And if we said that these ottomans are gray, right? So I want to get that the light is gray and this is light. So I want to go very quick. Very quick. But there is a color to it, so I'm going to go very quick, just moving that up. I'm going to go very quick on top of this, just very quick. As quick as I could. Right, so I can give it tone and color, but I don't want it to be that I'm seeing that color. And I'm going to get a little darker on the side here. And here as well. Right. And as we turn the corner here, I'll get a little bit darker. And that's how I would leave it. If it's a darker gray, then you know what? Let's say if this is darker than this. Then I'll use this same color, get another darker gray, and make it darker on that side. But it light to dark to feel that. Now remember how this was before? You see how it's kind of turned out to be the shades of from the pink to the more intense reds. Let me come back here. Let me put this back here. And let me get my color pencils to show you what I would do. Now, I don't know what color that poker those dots are. You know, let's say it is an orange or yellow or whatnot. You can just go with the color pencil. If it's a white, it pops out even more. Right? You can just go over it. Once the marker is dry, right, you can do this and pop. And you can also create edges right here now. Crisp edges in those areas. Right. And if you want to create more edges, of course, you use a gel pen. Right. In these areas. Okay. So what I want you to work on is that movement of light to create gradation of the objects. Right? Even this table, if this was wood, right? If it was a wood table, I wouldn't just use this wood color, like this wood color, and say, okay, that's my wood. I would layer it with a lighter color. So it's that one. And I'm gonna just go real quick through it here. Just so we can have an undertone, and then let's say this is the color, but light's hitting it, so it's gonna be lighter on that side, maybe darker on this side. And I'm gonna be quick with it. Leave some areas like that, and then just bring that down here. And I'll leave it just like that. And this is supposed to be glass. So you can do the glass, whatever. I mean, you can use the gray, you can use the blue on top of it, right? What I had here before was this. It's the lightest blue I had right here. I want it to be light, so I'm gonna be quick with it. So it's just gonna be like this, a couple of streaks. You know how you talked about the down streaks, but you know what? I'm gonna actually do this down streak in gray. I'm gonna do a quick down streak, like a. And let that be the reflective nature of the table, right? Let's let that be it. So the idea is to create gradation, guys. Gradation. Remember, light, shade, shadow. Gradation. If your churn needs to be more intense, I'm making that a little more intense right here to the end. Just making it a little bit darker. I don't know that I like that, but I'll leave it like that so you can see it. Alright, so we're working toward that end. Right. Then of course these things you'll detail. If this is white wood, you still have to put some gray on it. If it's brown, you do the same technique you have here. I can make even this darker here. Right. Now that it's drying up, I can say, oh, I'm going to make this side a little bit darker. And maybe right here a little bit darker because you see that, guys? Hopefully you're seeing the magic happen right in front of you. Alright, so I always like to test things on the side here so I see the color, how this is working. If my wood was my floor was reflective, if my floor was wood and it was reflective, maybe I'll start creating some. Okay, let me use this. Let me do some down streaks here. I'm gonna use my straight edge. And then back here. Here's going to be different. And I say here's going to be different because this is going to have a shadow underneath it. And I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call that shadow out. Right here. This whole thing is going to be dark. That is the shadow of the chair. We can't do much about that, right? There may be shadows of objects here as well, but I want to call that one out. Right there. And it may even be darker. That was a 3. Now I'm going to work this. And I'm going to say it's a light wood floor. My marker has a felt piece that's popping out there, is causing that to happen. But that's what I'm going to begin to do here. I'm trying to create the what's light, what's dark. Right, that's still wood. There's a gray over there. And I'm creating this reflective technique where you do the downstrokes, right, to see the wood. And I can go further with that in terms of the color. I'm gonna make it I'm gonna go over this one. To create that technique here. And I'm going to copy it over here too. So. That creates this reflective approach to the floor. Right, and if it's light or light floor, then I want to go over the whole thing now with the first marker I used, because it's not going to be completely white. There'll be some color there, right? But you'll still see the streaks coming down. And the idea would be that whatever color you have on here, you'll see a streak going down, right, of that same color. So if this chair let's say this table was kind of that color. I'm just going to do the table real quick. Mind you, I haven't put any grays on it, but I am. That's probably a lot darker. On these areas on the side here. All right, so there's the wood. So that's the color of the wood. That's the table, right? This is the color, the last color I put. Here, dark it is. I'm gonna get this color, right, which is the one I used to put the first time, and that's gonna be the downstreak I'm gonna use, because that floor is reflecting the color of that wood. I'm just gonna go like this. Just reflect that down. Right, that's what I'll do down there. That's reflecting that piece of it. If it's like very high gloss. But just don't, not the whole table, just that area. Now, there is going to be a shadow in there, so it will be darker. Meaning inside, like under the table. And I want to draw it here with this. All of this would have a shadow, right? And all this is going to be darker. And I'm going to go darker than that. I'm going to make even this shadow darker down here. Shade and shadows will makes a rendering, right? That's the shadow from the floor that's sitting there, right? That's the very intense shadow. I wanted to just show you that's the shadow that will be hitting the floor. I exaggerated it, but sometimes that's what you see. Look at your renderings, look at your images, and you see that really captured it. Now I'm just using these so you can see how the rendering happens, how to develop this, and how it works. Right. The if this is a white wall, then it'll be very similar to what you see here happening. I can put a little more intensity. Of course, under here is going to be, and I'm going to get a little. I'll have a little more. I don't like how that came out, so I'm going to do a straight line. That's that glow of that light, right? And all this is glowing. All this is glowing. All this has a glow to it. This is my color pencil doing this, right? But I kind of want to leave it with the marker. I'm going to be a little bolder here. And I want to get even like shadows, like right here. There's a shadow, a deep shadow right there. Right. And there's a little lip here. And that part of it. And this is going to be a little darker here too because it's against the wall. What do you see there? And whatever color the painting is, right? It's that painting. Whatever it is, I'm going to say it has a little bit of this and that. It's just abstract. The client liked it because it matched the furniture. There's really no white in it, so. And then that's white, the background of it, right? And let's say that frame was the same color as a wood table. And we did that before, right? So we're gonna get the lighter wood. Need some white there. Need some white there. And then get the darker color wood. Why do I leave the hot spot there? Because it's the light hitting it, you know? The light from the sconces and the light from the top. That pin light. And I'm gonna make it a little bit darker here. with a warm gray. And that's how you would create that illusion happening there. Alright guys, this is for you guys to follow along, see how we develop from light to dark, right? Moving the color. Objects can be red, you can still see it. Of course, I can add texture here if I want to put color pencil over this, have more texture as well here. And this will have an actual pattern on it. Get your color pencil and create the pattern, right, with it. But the idea for rendering is that you can really cover a large surface, right, in a quick amount of time, starting with your grays. And remember, 3 markers to create, use these 3 to create the chair, right? These, it was these 3, and these 3 were to create this sofa, and the grays were used to create the actual ottomans and some of the wall. And then we had these 2 and grays for the wood, right? And we used the same light wood for the floor, and I added this other one, this other marker piece that I had right there, and the warm grays for the warm tones that we needed. And we used this blue in the back here, right, to create that back wall. But we had the actual technique of the plastic bag to get some of the saturation out, so it can be a little lighter, so we can create that gradation that we want to have. So this is the process that you'll be doing in your perspectives. Notice my hands were fluid, they were free, I wasn't using my wrist a lot, right? The same techniques that you were doing with the color matrix, right, is what you want to be using to create these renderings. Have fun in your process, enjoy it, don't get frustrated, let it work to where it has to be, right? Work light to dark. Remember, you can create crisp edges if you need to with color pencils. Once things dry, right, you can begin to create edges in terms of the let's say you want to create a crisper edge here, get the color pencil, you can go right over that to create edges that you need for your drawing, if you want to do that part of it. I don't do it all the time, I let my line work do it for me, but in some cases you can use that if you want to use white or something to create that crisp edge. But I like more of a loose hand that's in control, right? That's under control. Specifically if you're copying your perspectives. Oh, I hit that. And notice, leaving the hot spots, right? Leaving that white. It's a white wall. And when I did this, right, this is gonna look, if those 2 lights are on and that light is on, you're gonna create hot spots in the area there. Can you bleed into it a little more? Yeah, you could, and you can always get some white color pencil and make it brighter. But that's the idea. Ceilings, guys, before I sign off, you have to address the ceiling. You really do, right? And these are warm grays, Prismacolors. I think they're too dark. I'll use I want to use a cool gray. A quick cool gray that I have here. So ceilings, they're never going to just be white. You're going to have some tone on them. Usually I like to grab the kind of one of the edges, like here's the top of it. That's going to be lighter here, right? I'm going to start from the back here. This will be darker, 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 right? And I'll create a couple of quick streaks like this, and then right here, then right here. And I'm trying to find the vanishing points, because that's what I would want to use to do the ceiling. Find the vanishing points and create some of these streaks that come out. Right? I'm just doing this quickly. I should have used this. It would have come out better. I'm doing a vanishing point from here. Yeah. The best thing to use would be like a 10%, right? There's always going to be some color on the ceiling. Right, there'll be some color on the ceiling. Let that dry because I don't like it too much. Well, I can always do this, right? Once this dries. See, let's make it. I can always bring the white back when I have a color pencil. You see that, guys? But I like to address the ceiling. But in this case, yeah, that's I'll leave it like that. Otherwise, I gotta do a whole streak right here. So this rendering, I have to fold it. Like to turn it in, I'll probably fold it right here. Right, and then fold it right here. And then maybe fold this area so you want to see that. In the window. And then fold this edge here. But I haven't finished that edge, but and then that would be kind of the rendering you would see. Right, the render that was created. Alright guys. Enjoy, practice, light to dark. Remember where the light's coming from. Light, shade, and shadow.